Thanks so much for reaching out and asking for my notes on doing Facebook Lives. Really excited to be able to share this with you. And so I just want to go through a handful of things that have helped me out as I have started doing these Facebook Lives and kind of learned my way around them. Some of them are things that I learned from coaches and people who've kind of helped me along, and a few of them are things that I've just kind of figured out along the way, but hopefully they can save you some pain and get you over that hump and out there trying to do a couple of these things. So number one is don't worry about how many people watch your Facebook Live in the actual live. So whatever that number is, it is almost completely irrelevant because 90% or more of the people who watch this are going to be watching it on the replay. So just don't get hung up. Like if literally no one watches it, it's not a big deal. You'll probably have one or two. They might kind of trickle on, trickle off. It'll go up and down while you're doing it. Do not worry about that. You know, 5, 10 views at the end of it, even one or two or zero, it's not a big deal at all. So just know that that's not a huge thing and you don't need to worry about it. One thing that you'll notice that I do a little bit that I think can be helpful, especially knowing that fact, is right at the very beginning of the live, I'll actually say, hey, if you're watching on replay, thank you so much for getting on here. And for those of you who are jumping on live, thanks for joining. It's great to have you here. So whenever I say that, almost by definition, like the moment you hit that thing, no one's going to be on there in those first 5 or 10 seconds, because even if people are going to jump on live, they haven't had enough time to see it yet and to click through in order to watch you live. So that's a great time to be able to say something to kind of thank the replayers, to have them feel a part of what you're doing, even if they're not watching it live. And so that's a great thing to be able to do, and it doesn't, like, since no one live is even going to see it, it's especially a perfect time to be able to do that. One of the things that I learned that is a little bit counterintuitive, but again fits inside of the same thing, do not kind of do that, oh, like, let's wait a few minutes and, see your 30 seconds or whatever and see who's going to get on. Like, you want to take advantage of anybody who happens to be jumping on in that moment. You want to get pretty much right into it. So I'll maybe stall for 5 or 10 seconds so that I am welcoming the replayers or whatever before I jump in, to try to kind of hold the meat of the content a little bit. But since 90% of the people are going to be on replay, what you don't want to do is have them sitting there watching 2 minutes of you stalling and not getting into the actual meat of the content. So your goal is, you care more about the replayers, hook the replayers right out of the gate, and don't kind of dilly-dally trying to wait for people to get on the live. It's just not worth doing that. The next thing, and this is probably the hardest one when you're first getting going, and I still mess it up sometimes, is you want to be you need to be looking at the little pinhole of the camera up here and not at your face. So right now, I'm doing this on a computer, so it's even worse. So look how bad it looks if I'm looking at myself as I'm talking to you versus looking up at the camera and looking at you. And you would be shocked, even on your phone, which is obviously, only maybe a 2-inch space between looking at yourself versus looking at that camera. It's a really perceptible difference, and creating that feeling for people that you are looking right at them really makes it feel much, much more engaging. So that's important. You're going to probably mess it up at the beginning. That's okay. Some people have even done it where they put a sticky note over their screen so that they're not tempted to look at themselves because they can't see themselves even. So that's, if you're really struggling with it, then just put a post-it note over your screen while you're doing it so you're looking right at the camera, but that'll help you. Next up is, you are inevitably going to mess up. I have messed up so many times. I have completely forgotten to say the most important part of whatever it was that I had gone on there to do. I have my kid has walked into the middle of one. All manner of things are going to happen, either that you screw it up yourself or that something happens that you weren't expecting to happen. Don't worry about it. The beautiful thing is that the more, if anything, mess ups are endearing, and especially if you can laugh at yourself and laugh at, make a joke or whatever and just move on about the situation. Those are all things that make it more organic, more endearing. So lean into that and definitely don't beat yourself up about it. Pay a little bit of attention to your light on your face, trying to make sure, especially that you're not backlit, that you're not kind of blending into your background. Be a little bit mindful of background noise if you're in a loud place, especially do what you can either to use AirPods or use something that you've got a microphone that's going to help you to be able to capture the sound a little bit better. And the background behind you, just try not to have it be distracting. That's really, it doesn't need to be anything special. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. Just try not to have it detract the attention away from whatever it is that you're saying. And then the last kind of big idea, and this is, I talked about this on the live that I was introducing this video before, is what this really is about. I think for all of us, but it is certainly for me, it's really about trying to create a conversation. So if all I get are likes, that's the worst, because what does that even necessarily mean? I'm grateful, but it doesn't lead to anything. Even comments, it's kind of that, right? Like, you're not able to necessarily have a conversation off the back of a comment on your Facebook Live. Most of them are like, great job, hey, whatever. That's great, and I'm really thankful for it, but the meat of why I do this is I'm hoping to create more conversation. And the way to do that is with what's called a call to action. And so what you are trying to do in any of these Facebook Lives, and if you watch mine, you'll notice, and this is exactly what this is the call to action was, hey, this is my story, this is the experience that I've had, and here's something that I want to offer you that is of value, but in order to get that, you need to send me a message on Facebook. So don't not drop us something in the comments or let me know in the comments if you want it. If you want whatever it is that I have to offer you of value, send me a message on Facebook. Now, why do you do it that way? The reason is that, number one, it shows that the person who is asking you for that has taken a little bit more, there's a little bit more in it for them if they've sent you a message. Number two is you've kind of already taken the conversation offline, which allows for you to have a conversation with that person even beyond whatever it is that you're supposed to send them, that it feels natural, versus like if they say it in a comment and then it's like, well, if you're having to kind of start that messenger conversation, it just feels a little bit more like, it doesn't feel as natural, I guess. So using that messenger is really important as to where you drive that call to action. So the call to action is, hey, I'm offering you this. If you want it, please send me a message on Facebook and I'll send it to you. Second thing is, you'll notice most of these things, like, they're not rocket science. They don't require me to be an expert. Most of what I'm sharing with you in this video here, just as an example, is stuff that, if you really wanted to study it, you could figure out what I'm sharing with you in maybe 15 or 20 minutes of research. So I'm not giving you anything earth-shattering, but I'm giving you something that's valuable to you. And so the idea is you don't have to be an expert, you just have to share something that's of value, whether it's something that you read today that might have nothing to do with your line of business or whatever, whether it's just something interesting, whether anything, just it has to be of value. That's what you're trying to give. And ultimately what you're getting to is that actual conversation. And so that's really it. Those are kind of the basic blocking and tackling. Once you get more comfortable, you can start trying to do a little bit more where you kind of like interject into the conversation and maybe you give a shout out to people who are commenting, you respond to the comments live. But don't even worry if that feels uncomfortable to you at first. Just don't worry about it. Just start with those very basic items, and if you can do that, it's just gonna start to feel natural. And it won't at first, so just don't worry about it. Just do a few of them. You'll get the hang of it. I promise you will. And I hope that you'll have a similar experience to me where you've generated some great conversations as a result. So thank you so much. I hope you found this valuable. Like I said in my Facebook Live, I would love to be on your Facebook Lives cheering for you. So if you do this and then you're like, hey, I'm going to do my first one, send me a message. If I can, I'll jump on there live, or I'll certainly jump on there after the fact and comment on it. But looking forward to seeing a few more of you jump in here with me, and have a great day. Thanks. Bye.